Welcome back to the Business Roundtable Podcast. We have another brand new guest here on the podcast. I'm your host, David Carr of Steward Your Business. Super excited to have Jasmin Dennis on here. She and I were just talking recently about health in the workplace, health and wellness. And you guys know, as Steward Your Business, what I focus on is organizational health, people, and building those teams together. But Jasmin has over 30 years of experience in the health and wellness space. She has, I'm going to let her tell you a little bit more about her background. It's still too much of her thunder, but she just has such a passion, and we really connected on like, how do we take care of employees? And Jasmin, I'm just super excited to have you here and really talk about this important topic that I often think often gets neglected. And just welcome to the Business Roundtable Podcast.
Thank you for having me, David. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, you know, I love your story, and I want to get kind of in there, Jasmin, because one of the things that we were talking about is burnout and companies struggling to keep their employees engaged, especially in today's world where employees maybe not always come to the office, they're in different places, and there are different age groups and a whole host of things that maybe employers are just not thinking about. And I want to kind of step back a little bit and talk about, like, where did your passion come into this space of health and wellness for companies and helping individuals get a better place? I would love to have our audience kind of hear a bit of your journey and what got you inspired to create JASD Health and Wellness.
Okay. Well, I started way back when I worked, in the government workers' compensation board, and, workers' compensation board, they advocate for healthy employees, in a different kind of way. You pay a fee to make sure you take care of your employees that way, right? Started there. But when I was there, I started teaching, aerobics, because I'm one of those people, I was either running or doing aerobics or any stuff like that. So I started to, and, I don't want to just make it look like it was the employees at workers' compensation board that was going through this, but basically, the files that came in, people would go to the extreme not to want to go to work because they're in different phases of burnout and they're in different phases of stress. So, we've had situation where, people come in and, if you kind of follow them, you realize that they're really not that sick, but they just don't want to be in the environment. So I remember my boss at the time would say to me, he says, Jasmin, when you come in the morning, you come in early, and, when you leave and you get packed up, and he just watched me go back and forth in this. Great at my job, but there's this other passion that I had, right? For wellness. And it was just basically teaching aerobics at that time. And I remember, there was he was Mr. Canada, actually, they were trying to get a hold of me. Don't know how they got a hold of me that I was teaching to come and teach at this other location. And I kept putting them off. I was newly married, and you don't want to be spending too much time away from, your hubby and all that. So they were persistent. So I remember I figured I'll just go teach a class and shut them up, right? And I went in there and they had been prime time. And people always say to me, when I go on that stage, I turn into somebody else, something else. They don't know what it is I turn into. But, remember I'm on there and I could see someone watching me from the corner, while I was teaching. And when I got off the stage, I was finished. The people in the class just kind of surrounded me. And, I'm kind of looking at my watch because I got to go home and make dinner. And they said, well, I hope you teach here. I hope you teach here. And I said, I just came to do an audition. So when I stepped out the door, he said to me, welcome to the club. And I thought, wow, I didn't know that I agreed to be here. So long story short, I was going back and I took 2 classes, which turned into 3 classes. And that's a testament to you, right? When they're requesting more and more of you. So I remember walking in to teach one of the class one night. And, he said, when you finish your class, can you just pop into my office? And so I said, okay. So I finished, I ran to change and got out there because, I see you come in, you in your corporate suit because you work with the government, and you change and, you turn into this other individual that I can see your passion. I want to build a chain of wellness facilities. And I want you to be a part of that. And, I says, well, some other time, can you tell me what that entails? So I go back to my boss, which I loved him. This man was amazing that I worked with. And I said, Andy, this guy wants me to be partner in this chain of wellness club and all that. He says, Jasmin, tell something. I would hate to lose you, but if you want to take some leave of absence and see if it's something you want to be, because I see your passion for that. And and I said, but these are clubs from the ground, like I have to
Mhm.
I'm responsible to make it successful.
Right.
So right. So I took the leave of absence and I started. So you can't have an empty club when it opens. And
Mhm.
I said, who am I going to prospect to be here? And I chose employee wellness. So I would go to an organization and I would claw till I get to the top for somebody to say yes to me. And I would
Mhm.
say, what do you give your employees as a bonus? Do you give them a watch? Do you send them on a vacation? What do you do for incentive? And,
Mhm.
they would say, yeah, I said, we sometimes give them money if they want to join a club, and at that time I'm realizing that wasn't the fix, even though if they signed up with me, my facility is going to have a whole lot of people all at once,
Yeah.
but I says, that's not really the fix,
Yep.
and I said, what I do, he says, well, how would you do this? I said, well, I usually at a new club, put myself on the schedule. I'm right there with everyone so that I can build it. They get to know me and everything. Long
Mhm.
story short, we went to probably about 20 by the time I decided I was going to do it on my own, because I would go
Mhm.
to companies and they would come in and I would be able to get the employees to stay because I
Yep.
put myself there, right?
Yeah.
And, I ended up saying, I'm going to do my own. I'm going to do my own. And then you got the landlord who bought into it. I got the space. The committee of adjustment said to me, I don't want you in my space. And no, this landlord's, which was Lava, it was a major grocery store. And I say their name because they took my idea and, said they don't want you in here. So they took me to the committee adjustment and I won.
Mm.
But the finances was not there. And I just want to make people well because I look at
Yeah.
wellness more than working out in the gym. I know if I had my own, there was going to be a section where it's integrated health, naturopathic doctors, massage therapists, you name it, right? So I do the
Mhm.
overall wellness. So they
Yes.
don't come in and just work out and walk away. Long story short, someone heard that I left this major organization and Lennox Lewis, the professional fighter,
Mhm.
and reached out to me and says, I have a fledgling facility, would you come and help us? So I walked in cocky, no, I'll help you, but I'm going to do my own. I'm not going to work for anybody else. So he said to me, can I sweeten the pie? You can also, and I said, well, sweeten the pie meaning your assistant or something, nothing wrong with that, but that's not my stick. What you can sweeten the pie is, like partner with me on that other facility. She says,
Mhm.
no, I want you into the boxing field. And I said, okay, if I come to work at your organization, we are going to make workplace wellness a part of what we do.
Mm.
And the
Mhm.
city of Toronto is one of our biggest clients, actually, because I say what I mean and I mean what I say, and I'm passionate.
Absolutely.
It's not a sexy job that I do, and I get lots of pushback, but
Mhm.
I will talk to that person till he gives up and says, okay, all right, come in. you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, that your persistence definitely, Jasmine. I think that's so important, and that's why I wanted to hear a little bit of the background because of your passion and for doing this for so long, working with Lennox Lewis, doing the box fit, Pilates, aerobics, all of these things you've been doing and teaching and creating. You are coming from a place of living this out, and I think it's important. When I have a guests on the podcast is that I want people to listen and hear from people that live what they're sharing, live and they're not just trying to sell you some product or service that they don't
Mm,
live themselves. You've lived this out
mm,
day in and day out, and you're committed
yeah.
to it because you see what happens if we don't do this. Like you said, there's burnout, high loss, losing of your employees, absenteeism. There's those, Monday morning heart attacks, if you will,
Oh,
like, getting overloaded, right?
oh yeah. And being in the space that I'm in, right? Being in the
Mm-hmm.
space that I'm, it's almost like you go to the barber shop. When you go to the barber shop, you'll tell the barber everything about your life that you will normally tell anyone else.
Yeah, yeah,
If you're to go to a barbershop and sit there, you hear everybody's life, or the hairdresser. I've been to
yeah.
the hairdresser where it's hours of doing whatever here. You hear everything. You spill your tea. And I hear that over and over and over and over. And most people equate burnout, they think it's a badge of honor. And it's
Mm,
not a badge of honor. And because it is such a hidden, the signs are so hidden
mhm.
that people walk around with, all the symptoms of burnout.
Yep.
And that's why, I created the burnout pie or the burnout framework. The burnout pie is very visible. People can identify with it. People can associate with it. And so I always say to someone, okay, first thing I ask them, what do you think wellness is? When I go into an organization.
Yeah. Great
And
question.
yeah, I said, what is wellness?
I mean, somebody say wellness is that just working out, right?
They first say to me, we don't have a gym. And what some say? I don't have a gym and I don't have the money to have a gym. And I laugh and I said, if you have a gym, I love it. But if you don't have a gym, I love it too. Because that's not what it's all about. But when I sit down, in the wellness is a happy, and I study the word wellness in every aspect. I break it down into a framework. The W, is working together. The E is education. Every word, every letter in wellness is a happy thing where you can put it into the work. But the reason I didn't just do the framework with the letters and I did the pie, because David, if I were to come to you and said, you know what, here's your favorite apple pie. And if you consume that apple pie, all of it at once, you're not going to feel well, even if you have a big appetite.
Even if it's like my favorite pie, but eat it all at once.
You're not going to feel well because it's too much.
Yes.
So in my burnout pie and my burnout framework, there are 8 slices. It could be a large, extra large pie, but I'm taking it now, equating it to a medium pie. And in that medium pie, I take 8 slices and I dissect it. It could be sleeplessness. It could be anxiety. It could be chronic stress. It could be mental stress. It could be depression. All that is in the pie. And I have the framework for that. It's all that I've said to you that is in the burnout pie. A lot of people walk out with a full pie every day. And they equate tiredness to lack of sleep, or they equate, oh, I feel tired and maybe I need a vacation. A vacation is great when you're healthy. A vacation is not great if you're burnt out. Because you're going to be on that beach and you're going to reach for your phone and you're not going to be yourself. When I take a vacation myself, I am on the beach for like 8 hours straight. I mean, I'm black. I get a tan sometimes too,
Yes.
Fall asleep with a tan and how do you know you got a tan? I know I got a tan, right? So because I feel this is heaven to me. This is what I like. This is how I do it. So in working with an individual, and I was at a workshop the other day and, an HR person said to me, well, how do you teach the burnout pie to a group of people? And I said, good question. How do you do a group of people? However, I don't just go into a group and say, blah, 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 blah. There's a survey, there's questions. There is a topic, because no matter if someone says to me, I don't think I'll find anyone that doesn't have any one of the slices. Even if it's just that they have everything else, but they have a problem sleeping, or, a little bit of anxiety. You monitor yourself. How are you when you interact with someone? Are you irritable easily? Do you, wake up in the morning and you stomp off the bed and you stomp in the shower and you grab the coffee and drive 3,000 miles an hour and you slam the door and you go in? And most people don't equate that to burnout. That is a part of, you can see when someone is in sync and how they can recognize it. And the whole idea of teaching from the burnout pie is because none of us are perfect. All of us have, or whatever, we have, our patience is not whatever. And the reason I push it for the workplace is because you take it home, you take it into community, and even the children, you can recognize burnout. Because if you have a child that doesn't want to go to school and cry in the morning, you better go to work and see. That teacher could be burnout and taking it on your kid or whatever. So this is why I equate it to that, so they can take it home and they can see step by step. And in the going back to the group, I will say, okay, today we'll just teach on detachment. And you would be surprised how many people say they feel that through various courses in the work. I am not against everybody pushing for the promotion. I'm not against everyone wanting to strive, because I'm very competitive. If you look on my LinkedIn, you'll see a plaque I got from Lennox Lewis here in the Mike Tyson fight. I'm not out there boxing, but I'm working hard so that you can be
Yes,
successful. And I want to see the fact
absolutely.
that I was successful. In my real estate days, I have a whole office full of,
Mhm.
awards and stuff like that. Get your awards, but look after yourself. Look after yourself. I will sit, and because I'm in tune to what it is, it's not that I'm judging anyone or that I'm going to a workplace and disrupting the workplace. I'm not doing that. But
Mhm.
you'll be surprised when you have a thriving, what we call
Absolutely. Well,
organizational health.
yeah, so what I heard you say here is, wellness for sure isn't just, workouts. It's a lot of things that you're and I heard you say too, Jasmine, and you're assessing it. It's not a one size fits all. You're looking at an organization, you're looking at the person and saying, maybe the gym is something, but maybe it's some, chiropractor, nutritionist, massage
Mm,
therapist. Maybe there's other elements that they need to help them based on that pie that I just heard you break down, those
yes,
slices,
yes,
right?
yes.
And so if you're not being intentional about that in your workplace, because I think in the business roundtable, that's where we're starting kind of ground zero is you're
Mm,
getting a lot of quiet quitting, mental
yeah.
health challenges,
Mhm,
disengaged workforce,
mhm,
they're not as productive as they could be. And I try to come in as a working with a healthy working with the team in a healthy way. But if they're physically not there, they can't be present. They've got this that's really, we can't build the team up. So if we've got those physical challenges, mental challenges, um, you know, what you're bringing up here is this health and wellness standard that we're saying, hey, let's raise this up for
yes,
everybody as a practical, powerful solution
yes.
to, lead more effectively, take care of our employees, help them around a lot longer. Uh,
Mhm,
you're right. I mean,
yes.
so I would love to have you just maybe just share a bit about your journey in that and kind of implementing some of these things that you've done in the workplace and just, I mean, I think it's so powerful because some people are saying, well, you know, I love the pie analogy because I think that's really helpful to break it down of like thinking about it a little bit more
Mhm,
finely, and
mhm,
because in wrapping our brains around where people are at
mhm,
and how can we help them more effectively if we do that. And so if somebody like you, Jasmine, coming in and doing an assessment, because some of the
mhm.
companies just don't know. I don't know what I need. And like you said, well, let me just buy you a gym membership or let me give you
Or
a gift
shoes.
card to,
Have
whatever.
shoes, which have
Yeah.
they've told me. I got $150 to go, and I took it and bought her shoes. And there was
Yeah.
a major organization here that said that to me. He says, because
Mhm.
I don't know what to do. And you know what the burnout pie does? It's not curing anyone, but is pointing out what's happening with you. For someone that is mentally stressed or depressed,
Mhm.
it the burnout pie help them recognize they're in that state so they can go further with somebody who's qualified,
Mhm.
to take them to that mental, cure them up. So the burnout pie is basically saying, pointing out like a big headlight what's going
Mhm.
on. And
Mhm.
it all depends, what's in my scope. I became a certified herbalist because of that, because I want people to, to have, I go at wellness holistically, which is a mind,
Yes.
body, spirit. I'm a certified yoga teacher as well. I'm into mindfulness meditation as well. And
Mhm.
most people think, meditation, you sit for 20 minutes. Ooh, you can close your eyes at your desk for like a few seconds and people just move your shoulders and just sit there and just be present,
Mhm.
and you'll be
Mhm.
surprised the energy you get just to do the next thing
Yes.
that you're doing. So when I go into an organization, I start with leadership, because the compassionate leader,
Mhm.
it's important. And what that means is a lot of leaders are burnt out themselves. A lot of
Yeah.
CEOs are burnt out themselves. And if they recognize, and so it's feeding off, the energy is
Mhm.
feeding off, and it's just one big washing machine cycle.
Yep.
As a compassionate leader, I was in a podcast and I spoke only on compassionate leadership, because I said, okay, here's a burnout pie, but the compassionate leader is going to build that trust so that
Mhm.
person can talk to them about what's going on in their pie.
Yeah.
They can have an open door. They can recognize it with themselves so they have more patience. They can
Mhm.
understand that a healthy team is going to cut. healthcare costs. They're going to thrive. They don't have to be on that hamster wheel of, I'm going to do this, and if I don't do this, I'm fired. And the compassionate leader also has to know, and the world of AI, one of my videos on YouTube says, is AI a friend or a foe? And, I can understand where all that anxiety is going to build up the more, AI comes in, and people are going to be stressed out, and people are going to think it's, I'm going to lose my job. But the compassionate leader will understand and reassure their team, you don't have to be in that burnout pie. You don't have to fear AI. You don't have to. There's a way that emotional intelligence from a compassionate leader is going to tie into the pie.
Yes.
And allow that workplace or that organization to just thrive.
Yeah, absolutely. I think unlocking people in that regard, Jasmine, is important. I agree. And I think this is where you and I definitely find synergy and overlapping in a way of, knowing yourself as a leader, appreciating who you are, where you're at, and being able to identify that. I think one of the things I've done in my own health journey is just do like literally a scan of my body and where I'm at, where am I, from head to toe, just being at this, and like I said, being mindful of what's going on. Because like you said, if you can't do that, start with yourself. How are you going to do it with other people to lead, right? If
Oh,
like you've got to start, like you said, get with the top leadership and get them buying in on this and saying, hey, this is really important. Not only I'm going to live it, but I want to be able to provide you the opportunity, the environment for you to also experience this.
yeah, and absolutely. And I'll tell you a quick story, because self-diagnosis is dangerous.
Mhm.
They burn out, they
If
figure
you
out
don't,
just
yeah,
why.
you're alone, you're isolated, right?
And they're
Yeah.
saying, oh, I'm tired, I'm burnt. But what does that tiredness mean? Get to the root cause. I'll tell you a quick story to see how someone can mask something that happened in a whole different area. So this
Yeah.
lady came in with her son into the facility, and the son came up, and he's a grown man. His mother came in, and you look at her and you figure, okay, yeah, she's overweight, so that she's probably going to talk about the weight, right? But I sensed something when she walked in, and that's where emotional intelligence comes in. And I said to her son, I said, do you mind if I just speak to your mom for a while, and then you can join us later? And she came in and she sat down, and I sat down, and I said, welcome, thanks for coming in. And I noticed the tears was like right at the lid. She was fighting the tears to come down. So I sat back, didn't say a word. I just sat back. And David, she cried and cried literally for close to 20 minutes. Just cried. Didn't say a word to her. I just let her cry, because just imagine she has all that pent up. She wasn't allowed to cry at home, because if she cried at home, her hubby is going to say, not in pain. And then the funny thing is, in the end, you realize that it had nothing to do with what the husband was saying. She was just more sensitive to what the husband was saying. She was in a high pressure job at work. She had a husband who comes home who probably didn't give her the attention at the time, because she brought that stress in.
Yeah.
He didn't know how to cope with that. So there's this whole synergy going on at home. But I sat there and I just listened. And when I realized, okay, she can't have any more tears left in her body. So then I took a sigh, and she said to me, I said, I want you to come back in a couple of days and see me. Didn't ask her anything, didn't say I'm going to design a program. I said, just like you to come back and see me in a couple of days. Would you do that for me? And she said, yes, I will. And I said, that's a promise you're going to keep, right? She says, yes, I will. And I think the reason she kept it is because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was doing. I know I was doing something good for her. But at the same time, I realized that whatever it is, she was appreciative at it. She didn't know how to communicate it. So when she came back the next day, she sat down and she says, the first thing she said to me, she says, I have to thank you for what you did for me the other day. She said, you gave me the space, and I don't know how long, to be me, to let it out, to drop all the cares from work, all the cares from home, and whatever self-esteem I have, because and when people are not happy, the weight comes on. right?
Oh
So,
yeah, definitely. That's
yeah,
definitely a coping mechanism, right? Let's start eating
yes.
more and
Yes, so she was in that. And I worked with her, we laughed about it. I worked with her. And at the time, I'm telling you, David, I probably needed a time too, because I'm usually going like a hamster wheel fixing the
yep.
world, right?
Yep.
But that 20 minutes, that close to 20 minutes of just dead silence. You know how hard it is to sit for 20 minutes and
Mhm,
try
mhm,
meditating
mhm.
for 20 minutes, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so, I kept working with her. We designed, she kept her appointment. Long story short, I didn't tell her that wasn't the plan. We didn't talk about weight. We designed a program for her to be well. We
Yes.
had her
Yeah.
booked in the health clinic so
Mhm.
she can, you know, s- get a massage, get her a massage, whatever she
Yeah,
needed to do.
yeah.
She ended up being prof- a professional bodybuilder
W Wow.
with a hot bod. So now you have a happy husband. No cares at home because she's happy at home. She's happy at work. She's happy, but she had to find herself.
Yes,
you know
absolutely.
and so she found it. So that's wellness in all on its own.
I love that. I love that
That's
story, Jazz. I
wellness.
mean, one of the things you're saying that I think is really important is you gave her the space, and
Mhm,
everybody's a little different. Like you said, maybe the meditation, and I think I love the way you're presenting some different options. There's the certified herbalist,
mhm.
the holistic ways of what does a person need. And sometimes we get stuck on only one, like you said, the one answer, it's the gym or something. I mean,
And
I've said people that go to the gym in an unhealthy way. I mean, they're in the
oh,
gym, that's they're like working out so hard and they're like, but they're unhealthy in other ways of their life. And what I find, I love where you're coming in, and I want to just pause because I want businesses to hear this and not just business owners, any leader of any team or organization,
yes.
because you could be pushing like just work that extra hour and grind it instead of
Mm,
like if you took 5-10 minutes of meditation and quieting your mind, you could be so
mm,
much more productive. But I think there's what I hear, Jasmine, is educating and helping people
mhm,
understand this
mhm,
different way of being and showing
mhm.
up, and they just wanna, like, we're in this place sometimes now where come to work 8 to 5, you must be in there in the office and your butt's in the seat, and that's the way it has to be, and we're going, like, in these extremes, I feel like, and what I'm hearing you, Jasmine, is you're kinda opening up possibilities and ways of being in a overall healthy and well way depending on, and it's different for different people. You just gave an
Yes.
example of this woman, so you can't just say it's a one size fits all,
No,
boom,
it's
just do this.
definitely not a one size fit all, David, because like I said, in the word wellness is a happy word for me. And everybody
Mhm,
just think wellness is a happy word. There's nowhere in wellness that said you have to go lift 5 pounds of weight or 20 pounds of weight, or there's nowhere in
mhm,
the word, the E is educated, the L is listen, the N is nurture, there's success,
mhm,
sustain. It's all very positive letters in the word wellness for the framework. And
mhm,
all I'm doing is bringing the pie for people to, and there are two pies in my teaching. It's the well pie. And it becomes competitive because people want to get over to the well pie.
mhm,
I've had a month where my sleep has improved 80 to 90%,
mhm,
and sometimes they go over to the well pie and some life, like what's happening to a friend of mine, life happens. And
mm,
then they
mm,
might have to come back over because they're in a state of depression. They might
yep,
have to come over there and they're going to have to work. And that's why I say to organization, don't just have me in for a workshop. Yeah, I can do a workshop for a day, but you're going to waste your money and your time for me to do a workshop
mm.
in a day.
Yeah, it doesn't work with one day. It's not a one time.
No, Rome wasn't built in a day.
Yeah.
Once you have that pattern of creating that, and there's some companies, I have to say, that do it well, some organization. At the workshop that I was at the other day, a small tech company, these young Jennings there, with their tech companies, and they're proud to be owners and they're entrepreneurs. And I was, I said, are we too small for you to deal with? And I said, absolutely. I said, I've had individual listen on a
Mhm,
podcast and they just want to work, or they said, my dad needs to work with you, or
mhm,
my child needs to work with you to understand the coping mechanism, right?
yep,
Of what you do at work. So
yep,
I have all aspect of it. And the reason I stress in work, and I tell the organization, the workplace, the mechanic shop, the finance department, the doctor, the nurse, the funny thing about it, every profession fits into the burnout pie.
mm.
every single profession. I mean, you hear the nurses, over COVID, half of them are
Mhm.
gone. They're stressed. They're
Yeah.
gone. The doctors,
Mhm.
we don't have enough in Ontario. They say we don't have enough doctors. Where do they all go? When you're a kid, you can pick, which doctor you want to go through in a block. You
Mhm.
know, they're burnt out too in a very different way. They're kids that are going through so many things, teachers that are stressed because of
Yep.
the shootings in school and all that. I am not saying I want to heal the world, but I want the world to understand and redefine what wellness means to them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you and I have a similar passion. I think business, if done well, can become healing, and you can have a healing
Mhm.
organization. I think anybody can if you do it with intention. I think what
Yes.
I've seen, what you're saying is by doing this, you get boosted morale and productivity from your team, retention and engagement. And it's really a win-win ultimately. But it
Mhm.
is if anybody, you and I have both done anything physical or anything really in life that we want to get better at takes time. It doesn't just happen, you know.
Mhm.
Uh, and so the more that we keep at it and consistent, the better. Like likelihood of success, like you're saying. If it's a
Mhm.
one-time thing, not likely gonna have success, But if you're doing
Mhm.
this repeatedly and building on these, you will actually see that over time. You'll look back and you're like, oh wow, I didn't realize I'm thinking more clearly. I've lost the weight. I've built the muscle, whatever
Mhm.
the case might be, right? I've
Mhm.
reduced having. I was just talking to a gentleman yesterday. I thought, not he's getting off medications. Okay, I've reduced having less
Mhm.
medications now. So we're moving in this way. I think what oftentimes I think Jasmine, what you and I face in organizations, I'm trying to help with the people side of things. You're
Mhm.
you're trying to help with people in their wellness. Is these
Mhm.
things are unfortunately, we wait until it's a
Mm.
crisis, until the heart
Mm.
attack comes, until
Mhm.
something arises, and then we wanna take action when we could have greatly minimized that impact. The pain that we're facing there, I was
Mhm.
actually just telling you, there we have to choose your pain, if you
Yes.
will. I'd rather choose the pain
Yes.
of discipline, self-discipline, and the things you're
Yes.
talking about, creating the
Yes.
space, investing in yourself, versus the pain that will come later on, the consequences that will come, right? If we
Oh,
choose not
yeah.
to.
How do you redefine wellness? I mean, I've worked in a fitness field for all my life, in the gym aspect of it. And how many heart attacks did I see in the gym? How many heart
Mhm,
attacks happened in my other book is, Monday Motivational, where
mhm.
they leave work Friday and everybody says, "Ooh, happy Friday. Thank God it's Friday." And this Saturday, you're running around doing a whole lot of stuff. And they start Sunday afternoon worrying about work from
Mhm,
Sunday afternoon. And that's
mhm,
why statistically, and I heard that statistic from when I was at the WSIB, is that more heart attacks happen on a Monday. Unfortunately, a lot of suicides happen on a Monday. And these
mhm,
are proven statistics. So when the
mhm,
World Health Organization says burnout is an occupational, oh my God, it's a catastrophe because it goes unnoticed and it leads. It's like
mhm,
these little, burnout are these little fingers that grow into these big prongs until it's too
mhm.
late. And
Yep.
then you come back and nobody wants to really address it. There was a big pharmaceutical company that I went to do a talk on, and he said, I spent this much money building this big gym and no one uses it. And I said, well, don't worry about the gym. The gym is great to be there.
Mhm,
Because when you have a person that is stressed for a deadline, the
mhm,
last thing they're going to do is to go in there. It's good. Or one person says, "Oh, we sponsor them at the gym across the hall." No, when you have deadlines and you have a boss or a leader that is,
mhm.
going to be upset with you if you take too much time, it's there, but it's not just checking the box, which a lot of
Yep.
companies figure, yeah, it's in our budget, we check the box. But what
Yeah.
yes, it's checking the box. The guy that said to me, he said, big organization, won't say because it's well known. He said, yes, I get $150 every month. I just go and buy myself a running shoes, but I'm no healthier than
Mhm,
doesn't do
mhm.
anything for
Well,
me.
that's that's why you need somebody like you, Jasmine, to come in and help them structure
Mhm.
it, assess it, because like you said, left alone, I mean, I hired a professional coach because I never did the weightlifting in the gym when I
Mhm.
turned 40, and I hired somebody because I want to hurt myself. I
Yes.
wanted to have somebody look at my technique. What am I doing? Give me feedback. And so,
Mhm.
like you said, if you're a company, you're just checking a box and kind of throwing money at it and saying, "Well, that's done." It's not. You're kind of like you said, maybe wasting your money or not really getting
Mhm.
the impact that you
Mhm.
really could. And one of
Mhm.
the quotes I really liked on your website, or you were talking about, like a healthy workforce makes a healthy company. You
Yeah.
know, and how do we, again, do that intentionally? And so, you know, knowing why you're here, Jasmine, on the podcast is so important because I want to have resources for other business owners and leaders to know, look, you're not alone. There's somebody that
Yes.
they could talk to and find out and
Yes.
discover, right? And say, like,
Yes.
am I too small? Am I too big? I don't know.
Mm.
Talk with Jasmine and get to
Mhm.
know how she can help you. I know,
Yes.
Jasmine, we're gonna put the show notes so people can go to your website, jazzdhealth.com, go check it out. And
Yeah.
as we're getting close to the podcast, I would love just kind of you to share some just key takeaways or thoughts as folks are listening to this, some maybe actionable items other than just following up with you directly that they
Mhm.
should consider or just think about, Jasmine. So yeah.
Well, I'm going to give your audience a free copy of my book, The Hidden
Oh,
Signs, Identifying Emotional Burnout. And all they have to do, you're welcome. There's a pop-up on my link when they go to my website, the
oh,
mindfulness care. It pops up and it just asks them for the information so I can get it to them.
yes.
And
Yes.
they'll give them ASAP. If someone did it today, in 2 seconds it comes to my phone. They can do that. I have a
Awesome.
learning channel on YouTube where I give snippets of workplace wellness, what they do, even just by sitting at their desk and how they hold
Mhm.
their hands at their desk. I see you're standing while you're doing this podcast.
Yes. Yes.
And all that and different things ergonomic. So I might be a girl, but I know how to get a workshop going and I can move things around, to make sure things fit. So on that, and if you go to YouTube, it's just Jazz D Health, period. I'm just subscribe and like, and they can listen to what they need to do, get the book, and yeah.
That's great. No, thank you so much, Jasmine, for coming and sharing your resources and your feedback and your knowledge on this area, because I think it can't be overstated. I think that, what would change if wellness was a priority in our business, in our life? What would change? Think about all the positives that could come, and and also, if we remove some of these negative things that we heard, the heart attacks on Monday, the absenteeism, the disengagement. Let's change things. And I'm with you, Jasmine. Let's
Yes.
feel healed and in a better place.
Let's do it, David. Let's do it. Let's go change. Well, want to lift one life up at a time. You know.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for being on the podcast, Jasmine. It was a pleasure having you. We will have to have you back because I think this is a great topic and it needs more attention. So I
Excellent.
hope you come back again.
Oh, I'd be happy to be there. So
Thank
much to
you.
uncover.
Thank you.
Thank you again, David.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for listening to the Business Roundtable podcast. It is wonderful to have you here. Please, of course, like and subscribe. We are on YouTube and all your favorite podcast platforms. We love having your reviews and comments and sharing this with others. If you'd like to be on the podcast too, please just send me an email, podcast@stewardyourbusiness.com, or message me, connect with me on LinkedIn. Jasmine is there too. Connect with her as well. Thank you again, everybody, for being on the podcast. Until next time, take care, everybody. Thanks so much.
Bye, everyone.